On this episode of the Comic Blast podcast, we get into Keenan's thoughts on the Snyder Cut, the possibility of there being an Ayer cut for Suicide Squad in the future, and Henry Cavill's return as Superman, but not in his own film. All of that and more coming up next.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get hurt? Consider this mercy. I am inevitable.
Welcome back to the Comic Blast podcast. My name is Grayson Schrader. How do you do? With me are two dead people. Introduce yourself, deceased folks.
We literally say nothing at all when you say that. It's just dead silence.
There's suddenly like this video recording of Grayson standing in a room with just two dead bodies.
You have 24 hours, Batman. They're already dead. I don't know why I would give him 24 hours. You have 24 hours to come get these dead bodies, Batman.
Listen, based on the
God,
last
this is really
episode,
dark.
Based on the last episode, I was already dead. It was just Cole's turn to go now.
Hi, I am dead person one, I guess. My name is Cole Black.
Wait, nobody knows like why I made that dead people joke. I think
I definitely don't.
For some, for
There-
sure.
there-
No.
Yeah, I mean, there's this ongoing joke going around. Grayson's just saying everybody's dead, man. I don't.
Yeah. Every episode, I'm here with my dead friends. God, I really need to. I should stop joking about dead people. They're not actually dead. But the reason I made that joke is because we were recording at a much different time than normal, which is the wee hours of the morning, aka 10:18 a.m.
This is far too early for me.
Yeah, I mean, so I was the responsible one, and I woke up at like 8:40, and then these two hooligans. Keenan's back. Say hello, Keenan.
Hey. I got nothing else.
Hey, man.
And they woke up within like 30 minutes of us recording this. So, and also neither of them had coffee. I'm on my second cup right now. I'm psyched.
He's crazy.
I'm good to go. I'm nuts.
Dude, as soon as we logged on, you started screaming at Cole, and I'm like,
yeah.
I was like,
I got on,
noises.
and Grayson was just tearing me a new one.
Loud
He's
noises.
wordsmith, you know.
But yeah, Keenan's back, and that's the news. Shazam. Just kidding.
Showing the glove, my flip flops.
That's because that is a new saying, by the way. It must stick its landing.
I said it randomly while we were playing a game, and I just I don't know.
Yeah. God, man, I don't even know how to like really introduce this episode.
well,
I always
this
struggle.
episode, we're getting back to normal.
Yeah,
The three of us.
Because I think the past couple of episodes, last episode, obviously, we also had Raymond and Caboose. If you haven't listened to that episode, please go check it out. It's all about the Snyder Cut stuff that happened like last week, which is like a week ago, actually, which is really weird. I mean, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into that a little bit, especially with Keenan's thoughts, since he was absent from the previous episode, and now the prodigal son has returned. And then the episode before that, we had huge audio issues on Keenan's side, but we're pretty sure Keenan has fixed it. And I'm sure you'll know if you're listening to this and it doesn't sound terrible, because it sounded like he actually had a generator in his room, and we had to fix it, and then it made it just sound like he was a robot. So, but Keenan is a robot, to be fair, because he has no emotion.
Man's got plenty of emotion. Just It's
just
that
deep
AI
down.
system, like the previous episode before the last one. He was starting to shut down, and then he's just not there for the last one.
I had like a system update.
He rebooted.
That was required, but
Yeah. They take way too long.
Yeah, sometimes he just has to get his battery recharged, But yeah, let's plug all of the housekeeping stuff before we get into the news, the lovely news.
we just need to be silent when he does stuff.
Great.
You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at comicblast_.
This is yelling at them now.
You can find me at Stradester8 on both Twitter and Instagram. You can find Cole at And the Force is With Me on Instagram and at The Cosmic Lotus on Twitter. And you can find Keenan at Keenan Creates on Twitter and Instagram. Notice how we never plug Facebook because Facebook sucks.
Man, I feel like we have some avid what we call it, like Facebookies. Like watching Comic Blast, and we have trashed on Facebook so many times.
We don't want them.
If you use Facebook, okay. Well, Keenan says that we don't want you. I was about to say, no hard feelings, but it's whatever.
The
I'm
feelings
sorry,
are very
that's
hard.
I don't make the decisions.
Yeah, I hate Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg sucks.
I mean, I also hate
I'm just
Facebook,
kidding.
but it's whatever.
No, if you have Facebook, hey man, you do you. But we ain't doing that. You also can find us, find our Patreon on patreon.com/comicblast, I think. And on there, we recently gained a new patron. But before I get into that new patron, I must mention our sponsor, Jess. You can find her twitch.tv/femaleandfatal because she does Twitch streams and they're really, really good. So please go follow her and even throw her a sub. If you have Amazon Prime... People can't see what's happening. If you have Amazon Prime, you can give her a free Twitch Prime subscription. And if you don't do that, well, you're wasting it because then it just goes back to Jeff Bezos' pocket. And God knows he doesn't need any more money. And then also we have our 3 other patrons. I will introduce our 2 longtime patrons. We have Sam and we have Joseph. They've been with us since pretty much the beginning. But we have our new patron, Jake.
Whoop.
He's one of my dear friends, and he decided to... I believe he is at the...
Bounty hunter?
What level is he at, Keenan?
No, I don't. No.
Bounty hunter. Okay.
I forget the names of them.
It was. I'm pretty sure it's
Yes.
the $5 level, or maybe that's okay. Yeah.
Jedi Knight. Something like that.
I love how it goes from Jedi Knight to wait. Which one's higher, Bounty Hunter or
Bounty
Jedi
Hunter?
Knight?
I think Bounty Hunter's higher. Because I looked at it, and I remember,
Listen, there's no reason for any of it.
And then
They're
you become an
just names.
Avenger. You become Padawan, then you become Jedi Knight, and then you're like, I'm actually going back down.
I
I'm
think-
becoming Boba Fett, and then you turn into
Here's-
Iron Man.
yeah.
Here's what happened with that.
Thanos.
It was around the time The Mandalorian was coming out that this came out, and I was like, you know what? I'm like, bounty hunters
that's
are
true,
pretty
that's
cool.
true. Baby Yoda becomes a bounty hunter.
Okay.
Our new top tier is going to be called The Child. So
Oh.
get ready
Yeah.
for that.
Welcome to the child level. That sounds weird. I don't like that.
Reminds me of that episode of The Office where Michael is like, he's like naming his screen name. He's like, little kid lover. He's like, that way just kids know exactly where my priorities are.
Oh my god. Oh, God bless Michael Scott. I just realized the Zoom meeting in the corner says it's 40 minutes, so I really hope it doesn't just cut off in the middle of this. But we'll see what
Dear
happens,
God.
I guess. If it gets cut off, I'll have to edit this in post.
Everybody,
Did I miss
everybody
anything?
one like to this
Go ahead.
video is one prayer for us, in hopes that we
Yeah.
make it past
Yeah.
40
And
minutes.
if you don't... Yeah, I hope it... Normally they're like, hey, this meeting is limitless now. Like, I've never had it actually cut off at 40 minutes, but now I'm kind of concerned. So, we'll see what happens. Did I miss anything on the introduction stuff, or can
No,
we
we're
jump
good.
right into it now?
I think we're all good.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so first thing before we get into the big thing, Keenan,
Mm-hmm.
you were gone last week, and we've made that clear. So I want you to give me some of your thoughts on all of this Snyder Cut.
Well, first of all,
jazz.
great episode, guys. I enjoyed listening to it and hearing everybody's thoughts.
Caboose
He
carried
did.
the whole thing.
Yeah, he really did.
But it was a really good episode, and if you haven't listened to it, definitely go check it out. I enjoyed listening to it as an audience member. So with the Snyder Cut, this is something that like maybe a year ago I would be annoyed that's happening, because I kind of was annoyed with like the whole fandom behind it. And then I think I've mentioned like before on the podcast that like Batman versus Superman is something that's grown on me like quite a bit over the past year or so, because I've rewatched it a couple times. And because of like just like the amount of mediocre DC movies that have come out since then, I've gained like a better appreciation for it and like what Zack Snyder was doing. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy for Zack Snyder. Whenever like stuff like this happens, I get happy for the people that are just like involved in it. Like obviously like primary, or the main person being Zack Snyder in this case. And then the whole cast and crew that was involved. I mean, you could tell that they weren't really like into the Whedon version of the film, especially like, you know, the more outspoken actors like Ray and Jason. Pretty much everyone became like more outspoken as the months went on when it came to this like whole release the Snyder Cut thing. I mean, even Ben Affleck was tweeting about it and stuff. So everyone's, you know, excited for that. But I like that it's on HBO Max, and I think it may be a little bit confusing for some people, like the general audience, as to what's going on and like what is technically considered canon. But anyways, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a better movie than the Justice League that we got, even though I enjoyed that movie quite a bit. Just even though I realize that it has flaws and it's really cheesy, and you could see like, I mean, there's so many issues with it. You know, starting from the opening shot with Henry Cavill's face and everything like that. But overall, like, I enjoyed a lot of it. I like that it was lighthearted, but I'm excited to see this version of it too. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I was kind of curious on your thoughts on the whole thing because we made it kind of clear in the last episode that there's the whole movement behind it was really strange, and there was a lot of problems with it, especially like there was just certain people that were really hate-filled and just negative people and would just really downplay other stuff unless it was just Zack Snyder's Justice League or DC Universe or whatever. They were Snyder or nothing, you know? And which it was very similar to a lot of things we see in like the Star Wars fandom and stuff like that, especially with the newer films. But yeah, I was kind of curious, especially since you've recently grown to appreciate the main form of Justice League, the theatrically released version of Justice League. What are your kind of hopes for? Like, do you think it'll change the future of the DC films if this becomes successful?
I really have no idea. Like, I feel like the Snyderverse is pretty much done for. I think this is more of a ploy to like get people into HBO Max than it is like doing right by Zack Snyder or trying to shape the DCEU in any way moving forward. And then we have like the whole Ayer thing, which we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, I don't think it's really going to shape the future of the DCEU. And I still feel like there is like a lack of vision for where they want this universe to go. I mean, now we're getting rumors that they're already like developing another Harley Quinn spinoff apparently, which those rumors came out yesterday. So and like here we are like going on our 4th Harley Quinn film or whatever it is, before we get a proper Man of Steel sequel. I just feel like it's a little bit of a mess in that area.
Yeah. And it's also even weirder because like I would consider Birds of Prey the Harley Quinn spinoff. Yeah. I mean it's pretty much like, you know what, you want your sequel to Suicide Squad, but like just with Harley Quinn. And then we're also getting the Suicide Squad,
her third
which Harley
film.
Quinn is also in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're kind of going with. You can certainly tell that they're going with what has been successful, and like a lot of people have enjoyed Margot Robbie's portrayal as Harley Quinn. So basically, WB and like the DCEU at this point is like, oh well, not a lot of stuff's working out, but that Harley Quinn, we're gonna keep releasing that until we can figure out everything else.
Yeah,
that's what it feels like to me.
You know what? Let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and get into the Ayer cut stuff, I guess. But because this is kind of on that note, but there's select few things that I really appreciate in the DCEU. So obviously everything with Zack Snyder's stuff I loved. My favorite villain was General Zod. I like the interpretation that they did with Lex Luthor. It's not my favorite, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I love Henry Cavill Superman. I love Ben Affleck's Batman. Jeremy Irons, Alfred, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. There's a lot of stuff actually that you can really appreciate in the DCEU. But one of the things that I think didn't get enough love was in Suicide Squad was Will Smith's Deadshot.
Yeah, I would agree.
I really I thought Deadshot. Amanda Waller was pretty good as well in that movie. Then Harley Quinn obviously was kind of more so the spotlight stealer in that, and also just so heavy with merch and everything because Harley Quinn is just a huge character now. And then Jai Courtney's Captain Boomerang, which he will be back in the Suicide Squad, but I don't think Deadshot will be. And so if this whole Ayer cut thing happens, I would love to see Will Smith's Deadshot come back because I just thought he was really entertaining, and honestly I just loved his design and thought he was did a really cool job in that movie, even though we all I don't know Cole's thoughts on Suicide Squad. I don't think what are your thoughts on the original Suicide Squad, Cole? Because Keenan and I have made it clear what our thoughts are, that we are not big fans of that movie.
I didn't I didn't dislike it really when I first saw it in theaters. At the time, I thought it was pretty, it was a fun spin-off thing. But I was that was all right. I'm not really gonna think too much on it. I thought Will Smith was great because he's Will Smith. And
dude, Will Smith he is such a good and honestly a really dynamic actor.
Yeah. It's I've never been able to decide if it was his decision or casting director's decision to swap him out as Deadshot. Are they even having Deadshot in the new Suicide Squad movie?
He's just not in the movie, no.
Yeah, so
which I'm sure he would probably come back
if he could. That'd be great.
And I thought the Suicide Squad would have been the perfect way to do it as well, because take the elements of the the first one, and that people really liked, and lean into those, and then obviously get away from Enchantress and the whole, and maybe Jared Leto's Joker and all of that stuff. Even though if this whole Ayer cut thing happens, I still would really like to see the stuff that we would have originally gotten with that movie, because I think that was another case where Suicide Squad, I think, was the first case in the DCEU where WB got really involved with that movie, because we all know that David Ayer goes on Twitter and stuff all the time, and he talks about how originally it was going to be parademons and it wasn't going to be those weird goo pore monster things where they had the holes and stuff on their face. It was really gross. I did not like those things, and I think it was going to be Joker was going to be the main villain, and I was like, oh man, this is such a perfect way to set up this universe. You've got Joker as the main villain, right? And you've got the Suicide Squad trying to take him down, very much like Assault on Arkham, but also parademons taking over the city and stuff. That just sounds really cool. And instead we just kind of got this warped, twisted version of it. And with that all of that being said, Cole, I kind of cut you off on your whole thoughts on it.
No, you're good.
But I mean, did you have anything else to say on that? I apologize.
No, you're good. As part of this kind of stuff is just going on, these type of tangents with these movies.
Yeah.
I think that's a certain charm to it. No, I mean, I thought it was okay and like kind of fun when I first saw it. But, like as it kind of started to settle in, I was like, all right, I didn't particularly love that movie. And it's not. I wasn't one of the people that particularly disliked Jared Leto's portrayal, because I always see the Joker as a character that can be portrayed in many, many different ways. And Leto's portrayal was new for sure, but it wasn't something that I particularly discouraged. It didn't carry over too well because of his scenes, or more so lack thereof, in the movie. There are a few deleted scenes that he actually plays very well, and I think that they should have put that in. But yeah, overall, I thought it was okay. It was nothing that I wanted to go back to. In fact, I don't think I've seen it that many times, like after the theater. Maybe I've seen it like once or twice, and I probably wasn't paying attention, like after the theater, I mean. So I'm glad that there's kind of like a remake / reboot, even though it's they're probably both still canon.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all right. That's my general thought about the movie.
So with all that being said, then, like, are you guys behind with this whole release the Ayer cut movement now? Because clearly, like, basically, I guess the mentality going in with this whole thing is like, oh, if we can get them to make the Snyder cut, we can make them make the Ayer cut, which I think was a lot closer to being done than what the Snyder cut was going to be, and maybe a lot easier. But, like, what are your guys' thoughts on? Do you even care to see that happen at this point? Like, or do you think that like we need to stop doing like these pushes for these cuts or whatever? Like, is it going to push it into a normalcy thing and then kind of like, I don't know, kind of derail, I guess, not creative vision, because clearly like it's trying to embrace creative vision.
I know
like,
exactly
I don't
what
know.
you're saying, like the concern behind that whole thing. First, I want to say that yes, I do want to see this, and I'm like slightly excited for it. I think it's pretty much like confirmed, because I'm not sure if it was the WB Twitter page or it was the AT&T Twitter page, but somebody commented on a post and they said release the Ayer cut, and it was either WB or AT&T, but they replied and they said one thing at a time. So I think that's like pretty telling that this is going to get done. But I mean, like, I think that they need to do right by like someone like Zack Snyder and David Ayer, especially David Ayer. I mean, his was literally chopped to pieces and like rearranged. Definitely was not the film that he put together, and I'm not so sure that the film that he made is also going to be that good, because I don't know. There's just a lot there that I did not like that was shot by him. And I feel like no matter how you try to spin it and rearrange it, there's probably going to be some issues. But I think based on that first trailer that they released for Suicide Squad, it definitely had like a darker tone. And then when they went in and changed things up and they started like, layering all this music on top and stuff, it tried to like change the tone a bit. But anyways, like, I'm excited. I think like you were kind of like alluding to, Grayson, is that you could run into the possibility of directors coming in to make films, WB altering those films, making heavy changes to it, and then just saying, but we'll release a different cut, which is your version on HBO Max. So what you end up getting is a theatrical cut that isn't really what the director wants, but they're like, we'll just change it up a little bit for you and get it on HBO Max.
We need to get to the point where they're not releasing two cuts. We need to get to the point where, obviously there has to be some kind of studio interference, because they can't just let, with these big universes, they can't let the director do everything they want to do. But at the same time, we need to get to this point where studios quit sabotaging creative vision. Yeah. Speaking of which, release the Mark Webb cut for The Amazing Spider-Man 2, huh? Where's that? Because, like, that's another thing, right? Is those Amazing Spider-Man movies. I'm like, God, I'd love to see, like, what Mark Webb wanted to do with those movies. But it's like, sure, I get the sentiment. And of pushing for these more creatively I guess touched movies that are really part of what the directors and writers want versus what the studio heads want. But it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, we can't just get it for every movie, and I think the Snyder Cut was a very, very rare exception where it had so much problems going into it that like it seems like it is probably like the one movie that would have like the biggest movement, because like I feel like if we keep letting these whole movements trying to be like, oh, let's get this cut and this cut, then obviously like The Last Jedi not being canon would have become a thing, and like I don't know, like all of this other stuff where it's like and even with the Amazing Spider-Man movies, it's like it wasn't that like it was a lot different in those cases because they Sony was pretty involved with that, but like Mark Webb was still part of that movie the entire way through. Zack Snyder was not, Zack Snyder was in that process, and then he had to leave because of like a family tragedy, and then Joss Whedon had to come in, which totally changed the vision of that. I mean, you have two directors that I said this in the last episode that have like completely different styles and visions. Like you've got Zack Snyder, who's like this. Like he has like this really dark yet cinematic tone that's like he's very much like a visionary, and he has a very specific style, where Joss Whedon is like, oh, it's these lighthearted fun adventures, and obviously with the Avengers and like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I'm pretty sure he helped with Firefly, which is a really great show. Those all have a distinct style where it's like they're not super dark or whatever. So when you have that director, like we said, coming in to fill that gap, it totally changes the way that movie was made. Especially when you only have 6 months left. So, like, seeing the Snyder Cut happen, in my opinion, I think is well earned and makes sense. But, like, the Ayer Cut thing, I was like, I mean, how much different is it really going to be, Yeah. Like, for the most part, like, that film was, like, other than them, like, hey, let's make it a bit more Guardians of the Galaxy-esque, where it's like, oh, it's funny, we're the bad guys, we're not good guys, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's like, is it really worth the time and effort and money? Now, if they did it, I'm not going to be upset, but I just don't want it to be like this like normal thing where it's like, oh, here's a theatrical cut, and then 2 years later we get the real director's cut. I'm like, come on, that's like a little cheap, and I understand business is business, but
I mean, I think it's certainly for Justice League, something like this, like you said, it's a very rare occasion. I feel like something like this, like getting the Snyder Cut, like that's necessary. I think that is pretty much called for, and it makes sense. I don't know too much about, I'm leaning one way or the other about Suicide Squad, like the Ayer Cut. I don't know if it really suffered from the same thing, from like, there's an additional 2 hours that we totally missed, and like we could just run some VFX through it, and there it goes. WB, or like like the control system for DCEU movies currently is really bad. Like they'll hire these creative directors that come in with something, and then they're like, but we're also going to change it as much as we can, like as much as possible. And I don't think that is something that should be called for. So I feel like the whole Snyder Cut thing, this is good for an establishment of the like upcoming DC movies, but I don't want this to become a thing like you were saying, Grayson. Like, I just don't want this to enable people to believe, hey, if we harass a big company enough, then we will get what we want.
That's been the common trend.
Because and that is certainly that's not a good thing that should be on the internet. That's a toxic thing. And then if people start believing that, and then they do it again expecting good results, they will get mad at a company for not caving in, and then the company's going to start losing money. So like, for caving into this thing, for the Snyder Cut, it's good, but at the same time, they're now setting themselves up to fail if they don't deliver on other things that people will harass them for.
It's kind of concerning, because like there's the Snyder Cut, which has been going on for almost 3 years now, getting close to 3 years.
It's been a while.
And then you had the whole boycott Sony thing when the Spider-Man thing happened, and that was like, that was kind of like a bullying tactic. And then what was the other thing? Obviously, like the whole Star Wars thing. I mean, essentially the fans were able to make The Rise of Skywalker happen because that was, a film that was.
If you really think about it, yeah, like exactly, like that's a great point. If you really think about it, like we've literally seen the script for what the Rise of Skywalker would have been, and some people wanted that, but personally, I was very happy with the way the Rise of Skywalker actually went, because it was like it very much course corrected. And some people, listen, I've seen a lot of hate for the Rise of Skywalker, and if you don't like it, that's fine. But like, to me, I really enjoyed it because it really embraced a lot of the core tenets of what Star Wars is, and brought me on this ride that I found really enjoyable. But like, I mean, imagine if they were like, all right, sorry guys, we know we messed up with episode 8, so here's what, on Disney Plus we are redoing episode 8, and it will, and like it's not called The Last Jedi or something. Like imagine if that happens. Like that just sounds so insane.
That would
like,
be
and
so
not like
weird.
and like not insane in a good way. I mean insane like what? Like that they're like actually like allowing this to happen. Like that would have happened. Like that sounds like something like, even like we go back to like the Phantom Menace, and they're like, Jar Jar sucks. It's like, all right, we're releasing this new cut of the Phantom Menace, and Jar Jar isn't in it, and I'm like,
yeah,
what? Like,
every
and
scene
granted,
with
like
Jar Jar is just an actor talking to thin air.
Yeah.
It's so weird because people, I don't know if people really, I mean, I'm sure some people do, and I do certainly, but like, people harassed all these actors and stuff, like, and George Lucas, like okay, if you really think about it, this is so ironic. They harassed Rian Johnson for what he did with Star Wars, but that was his vision with Star Wars. That was literally he wrote the script for that movie, and people got mad. Then it's the other way around where it's like, oh no, we want the director's true vision and stuff, and I'm like, pick, like, what do you want? I'm like, people basically, I think like a lot of people, and I can't say this for everybody because this is like, it's not black and white like this. There's a lot of nuances, and it's like people just want what's easiest, I guess, or what they think is going to be better. So like if the creatives, like the creative direction and vision of a movie aligns with their own, then they're going to support it, whether it's the director's vision or not.
Yeah, basically, you can't please everybody. That's a theme that is common with everything. It's not just these dumb new movies for nerds.
Yeah.
Which I love, but like, because when The Last Jedi came out, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't happy at like when Grayson and I and you were there with us too, Keenan.
I was very upset.
Yeah, all of us went out and we were not happy
shock.
with it. But now I've come to terms with it, because I mean, I may have been upset at the time, but I didn't go on Twitter and start harassing Rian Johnson and Kelly Marie Tran.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't say like, you ruined my childhood and stuff like that. I was just like, I didn't like that.
And we all three, we still highly respect Rian Johnson and Kelly Marie Tran and all that.
Absolutely.
Dude, Rian Johnson is one of the greatest directors out there right now.
Oh,
I don't care what
he's
anybody
great.
says. Like, Knives Out was fantastic. I still want to see Brick and Looper, and I don't know where to watch them at. Maybe maybe they'll be on one of the
Brick is on
17
Netflix,
streaming
as
services
far
I
as I
have. I
know.
don't know.
Have you ever seen the Brothers Bloom?
I have not.
That's good. He directed that as well. That one's pretty good. It's got Mark Ruffalo as one of the main characters, and I don't remember the name of the actor of his brother, but I watched that in my creative writing class in high school. That was pretty good.
Oh, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's got a whole lot of credibility and stuff, but that's a whole nother discussion. But basically, it's just this weird thing of like, we've made our point that is this going to become a normal thing or not, and should it? And I guess we'll see what happens. Like I said, if the Ayer cut thing happens, cool. But like, I'm a lot more indifferent to this one compared to
I just don't
Zack
think
Snyder's
it's going
Justice
to be
League.
Yeah.
like. Yes, it also is going to set a precedent going forward. But like, I look at Suicide Squad and like I can pretty much figure out what that Ayer cut was going to be easily. Now with this Justice League film, I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, I feel like there's a lot of footage there because they reshot. Like they didn't reshoot Suicide Squad. They just cut it all up to, pieces and stitched it together however they, saw fit. But with Justice League, I mean, they reshot like half that movie and changed the narrative up pretty much completely.
When Joss Whedon came in,
So that's why it's more interesting.
We're getting a movie that's basically literally double the length, and the director is coming back and like they're not using all those reshoots. I'm like, it's like it literally will be like not even a new movie. It's almost going to be like 2 new movies if you really think about it, because like Justice League was 2 hours on the dot. This is going to be almost 4 hours long, which is like insane. But yeah, I guess that's enough on all of that topic. And I guess it remains to be seen what will happen. I feel like at this point it's really 50-50, but I think the main focus for them right now is obviously the Snyder cut of Justice League, and we're all very excited for that. I guess I'll just transition into this is definitely like the bigger news piece, and I wasn't expecting to talk about all of that stuff for so long. But I believe it was, I'm trying to remember the source. Was it
Deadline?
What was Deadline? Yes, I'm drawing a blank. Yeah. Deadline reported that Henry Cavill is in like pretty close talks to making keeping his run and continuing his run as Superman. However, it's not going to be in his own film. It's going to be in other films. And so I saw a comparison that like Henry Cavill Superman is going to be like the Nick Fury of,
dear God.
Like,
who said that?
And I'm like, I don't remember. Like, I don't think they mean like he's gonna be like, I'm getting together a team, like all of that stuff.
There was an idea. It was called the Side.
Wait, didn't you made this joke last week? I think Cole or somebody did last week. Or it was like it's literally like Superman walking in a room and he's like, there was an idea. Like I'm pretty sure you made that joke.
It was either me or Caboose made it, and then I stemmed off of it with something else.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I really hope that like the way that I took it was that this is not confirmed at all. Like we're not planning for Henry Cavill to just come in at the end. He's like, I'm Superman, and then like that's what he says at the end of every movie. That like I'm thinking more like there just hasn't been talks of a new solo movie yet.
Yeah.
But they're definitely talking about him coming back. They're like they're treading on thin ice at the moment.
So here's what the article says. It's very, very small. It's from Deadline. It says, we haven't seen the last of Henry Cavill's Man of Steel. While there is not a Man of Steel sequel in the works, we're hearing that Henry Cavill is in talks to reprise his Superman role in the Warner Bros. DC universe. We hear Cavill could come back in a couple of different ways, though not in a standalone film, but there are plans to put him back in the Big Red Cape, sources with knowledge tell us. Warner Bros. Is not developing a sequel, is not developing a Man of Steel sequel, and Wonder Woman 1984 and Suicide Squad are in the can. What is that supposed to mean? They're not in the can. They're still coming out. I don't know. And Superman isn't expected to make a cameo in Matt Reeves' The Batman. Oh, okay. They're saying Superman won't be in those movies. Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, Wonder Woman 1984 is still coming out. I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. Other projects where Cavill could make a cameo are Shazam 2, Black Adam, or Aquaman 2. So yeah, that's what I was gonna say though. Is like obviously, if the whole Man of Steel or like the Henry Cavill coming back like works, and honestly, like I think that's like their three best bets right now in that universe are Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. Because people like Caboose said last week, Henry Cavill has gotten a lot of notoriety lately in Hollywood and has become a much bigger actor, especially since the first Man of Steel movie. And he's got like things like The Witcher and Man from U.N.C.L.E. and all of that stuff, and even Mission Impossible. Yeah. So he has a lot more like credit now, and I would be totally cool with him reprising his role in other movies, and that's what I really want to see him in. I think we talked about this last week, was in either in a Shazam 2 or the Black Adam movie, where like I just like we were talking, I believe it was Caboose saying we just want to see Superman and Black Adam fight, like just Henry Cavill and The Rock, like these just massive hulking dudes, just flying around, just like beating the crap out of each other. Like I'm not gonna lie, I just really want to see that. There was an animated movie with him and Shazam, and I don't remember what the movie was, but they like Superman and Shazam team up and they fight Black Adam, and it was just such a cool fight. And yeah, I think it'd be really cool to see him pop up in other movies, but like, come on, give us our Man of Steel sequel, please.
If they're planning for him to show up as cameos, then that would be pretty bold if they didn't plan to do anything else with him, because they're basically saying like, hey, he's still here, don't worry about it, he's around, he's fine. If you're gonna bring him back for cameos, I feel like they're trying to set him up to become a main character again. Mm-hmm. It's just gonna be a little slow.
It feels like what I'm getting from this is almost like they're jumping the gun. So, I think this is kind of comparable to Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, where in that universe we had Iron Man 1, and then obviously he pops up in The Incredible Hulk as in a brief cameo. We get him in Iron Man 2. We get him in the Avengers. Then we get Iron Man 3. And then after Iron Man 3, there weren't any more Iron Man movies, but he was still someone who was popping up continuously through those movies. Yeah. He was in Civil War, and then he was in the next two Avengers movies. So he still very much had a presence, and it's almost like, okay, well, let's make Superman this center point and keep him throughout these other movies. But I'm like, we haven't gotten, if we're comparing Superman to Iron Man, we haven't gotten our Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3. Yeah. We haven't even gotten our other Avengers movies. Yeah. It's like we still need that. Like, I think the best way to set it up is to maybe put him in a cameo for 2 movies or something, as long as it makes sense, I guess. And Shazam would have been the perfect way to do that, but I guess that's past now, and they could do it in Shazam too. But like, they really need to establish his presence back in the DCEU now and put him in a sequel. And I still think it has such great potential. And Superman is the greatest superhero of all time. If you can argue if it's Batman or Spider-Man or Iron Man or whatever, but like if you think about it, like everybody knows Superman. Yeah. So why have we not gotten, like, it's kind of crazy. We've gotten more Batman movies than we've got, which, that's why there's always, like, the argument, is Batman more iconic than Superman? But, like, the saying of, like, oh, this is my kryptonite, and, like, up and away and all this, like, Superman is just, like, the cliche, like, superhero, but not, like, cliche in a bad way. Like, he means so much and is really iconic. But the fact that we've gotten more Batman movies or Batman-oriented movies rather than Superman movies is actually kind of insane. The more you think about it, like the fact that like we've had to wait this long for a Superman sequel is kind of ridiculous.
That's that's one of the unfortunate problems with the DCEU, in my opinion. When the MCU started, they were already ahead of the curve. And they didn't have to hit the ground running like the DCU thought that it had to.
Yeah.
They started off with Man of Steel, and I think that was a great choice.
Perfect.
But then they basically immediately went to Batman v Superman, and
which in the MCU's case would have been Iron Man. Civil War.
That was way too fast. And they should have, personally, this is just what I think that they should have released like Man of Steel, and then a Batman film, and then a Wonder Woman film, and then they bring the three of them together. Or
like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, it's that, like, obviously that kind of formula works, because you can't just make one movie and then suddenly you're like, all right, here's this crazy crossover event because we know you guys are super invested, stuff like that. We get that you guys wanted to get on the same level with Marvel, but that took a lot of time for them to do that. Yeah, like, they certainly earned that. And now, like, ever since these decisions were made, WB's just kind of picking up the scraps and I really hope that they can fix it because I had a lot of faith for the DCEU because I love DC. I'm not gonna lie, like producer Grayson said, like the episode prior that we are DC shills. And yeah, it's true. I mean, I love Marvel too, but I grew up with Batman more so than Spider-Man and whatnot. And I really don't want to see this kind of stuff fail because it has so much potential. So they just need to calm down and start releasing some good stuff.
And another advantage that DC had even when they started was they had all of their characters, all the rights of their characters. Like Marvel didn't. They didn't have Spider-Man, which was their heaviest hitter. They didn't have a lot of their other characters. They didn't have their X-Men. Like, if you think about it, when you think Marvel, like before the Avengers and everything, like the two biggest franchises were X-Men and Spider-Man, and they didn't have those
characters to start with.
Freaking
Iron Man, Captain
and they started
America,
with Iron Man.
Thor. I'm like,
and they made it work.
Yeah, and like I mean, those characters in comics were big, but they were still kind of B-list,
because those three characters to Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. Like they're just on a different level.
Because DC has been around longer and they're just so much more iconic. But the fact that they kind of fell on their face, like it's kind of saddening. But with all that being said, like it's pretty clear, at least between the three of us, that like we want this kind of course correction and unification. And while I don't think the Snyder Cut probably won't do that, I think getting Henry Cavill in the right position and the right role for another sequel. Not the right role, but the right. When I mean role, I mean like the right spot in the universe, and basically like making him kind of a center point. That'll really elevate them, and I think Wonder Woman and Aquaman could also do that. But like because they have a lot of good things on their hands right now. Like if you really like the only thing that they're missing to make this universe more like fully established is that they don't have their Batman and they don't have their Joker. Right, which are two very key components. I mean, they've got sort of have Superman. If they get him back in there, then they'll have that. And they've got Wonder Woman, which is like one of the, the big three, the trinity of the DC universe. You've got Aquaman, which has become very popular, and people seem to really love him. And you've obviously have the Suicide Squad and Harley Quinn, and that's kind of become a cultural phenomenon. So there's a lot of stuff there. They just have to figure out their stride. And if they can just figure out some way, like I think their best bet is going to be, Caboose mentioned this previously, but if they could set up some way for it to be like a, maybe like a Legion of Doom movie or like whatever it is, maybe not a Legion of Doom movie, but like setting up that Legion of Doom and then making that maybe another kind of crossover event, like that could really, really work. And if they can get the Flash pulled off right and everything, like they just have so many problems that they just have to get the kinks organized.
It really just boils down to they need to start making these movies. Like they really need to figure out what movies you're talking about making and make them and make them good. And that's it. Because I mean
it just doesn't feel very streamlined.
No, it's just like, Flash has been going on for 4 years now, and Man of Steel, we're going on 7 years without a sequel to that film. It's just like I'm actually even shocked at the amount of time it took to get Wonder Woman 84 out. I mean, we're looking at 3 years in between that film, which nowadays, it's usually about 2 years. We're having 2 years between Spider-Man films, and usually you're looking at 2 years in between films. But
It's crazy, man. I mean, I'm still I feel a lot more excited for DC than I have been in the past even year. Like we were talking about that, Keenan, but they still have work to do, and they still have to win us over. And if they can do that, then they can probably make it work. I mean, even even if the Batman turns out good, that'll get me more excited for DC stuff. But
so this is.
Go ahead.
This is I just wanted to use this for reference. This is the current list for released films in the DCEU. Like this is the kind of order that they've been going for. Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Aquaman, Shazam, Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
That sounds like a bag of
Yeah.
marbles or
Yeah.
something like that.
Like
What
yeah,
kind of
it really
what kind
does.
of list is that right now? What is your plan?
That's like those box of jelly beans that you get, and some of them either taste
Yeah.
really good or really
Yeah,
bad.
exactly.
Like, and you don't know what you're gonna get. You're like, God, this could be really good, or this could be hot
Yeah,
garbage.
this,
like,
this could be soap.
Yeah.
This could taste
and,
like
and
soap.
it's like, and we were talking about it, right? Where it's like, you know, they easily could have followed the format had they not rushed it. You know,
Exactly.
they could have gone Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Batman,
Yeah.
then go into the Justice League, right? And then, you know, even from Batman, they could set up Harley Quinn and stuff. Then that's an after Justice League. We get Suicide Squad and all of that stuff. And then leading up to basically, you know, and I don't want them to say copy the MCU, but like DC has a lot more
They have
characters,
better
and then they could have done Shazam and yeah, it like they're
Better
a way
characters
more
and
well known,
better
and there's
stories.
so many stories.
Yeah, the problem was that
Yeah.
they were trying to. They're trying.
Like
to,
I can tell you the exact order of like how to write those
Right.
movies right now.
Yeah.
Like
They were trying to lead off with those heavy hitters way too soon so that they could catch up to the MCU. Like,
Yeah.
aside from Man of Steel, they literally started off with one of the greatest stories of all time, Batman v Superman. Why would you basically
Yeah.
start
You
there?
killed Superman
then
in
you
his
go-
second
Batman v
appearance.
Superman is like it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is
Yeah,
that?
like
What's your
Batman v
plan?
Superman would have fit perfectly between like a Justice League 1 and 2 or something, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it's like basically we needed to get these teases because it's like we got Suicide Squad, and I felt like Suicide Squad would have made so much sense after a full-fledged
Right.
Batman movie
Yeah.
with Ben Affleck. It's just like because like if you go back to Man of Steel, you obviously thought like when put yourself back in, which is like this was 7 years ago, but if you put yourself back in that mentality and you're like, okay, I just walked out of Man of Steel, what do I anticipate is going to happen next? Probably Man of Steel 2,
Yeah.
right? That's probably what we all expected. Like, we're going to get Man of Steel 2, and that's going to expand the universe. No. 3 years later, or 2 years later, 3. Was it 3 or 2?
3
It was
years.
2016 when
yeah.
BVS came out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So 3 years later, we get a movie that has Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Lex Luthor, and Superman also dies
cameos
at the
from
end.
all
Also
these characters.
Doomsday randomly, and there he goes. They
Yeah,
put
like
in
they also
Doomsday.
they tried to. Yeah, Doomsday, which is like one of the biggest Superman villains, like
Flash
top
pops
5, maybe even top 3. Yeah, you got Flash, you've got Aquaman, you have like all these, and you're like, what?
What?
Like, I was like it would have made sense, like, right, Man of Steel 2, and maybe put Bruce Wayne and Diana Prince in there as like cameos, you know, even like Victor Stone or like Victor Stone's dad or something. Just like you could have put cameos in there and be like, all right, let's set this up. Then, you know, you get your next movie and all of that. And it's like, it's just really strange. I don't know. We're kind of going on a whole rant on that thing, and we're running out of time. So like we probably need to shut up on that whole thing.
Let me just quickly pitch this. Imagine either Birds of Prey or something like it coming out before Suicide Squad, and we get introduced to Harley Quinn. And we'll say like there's a Batman movie, and we get introduced to perhaps like Deadshot's in there for a few minutes, and then there's a Flash movie, and I'm not gonna say Captain Boomerang's gonna be like the big baddie, but he'll be in there for a little bit, and everybody loves him. And
yeah,
then
he'd be like a secondary villain.
yeah, and then like imagine that they come out with Suicide Squad, how it was, you know, like maybe a bit touched up. Everyone would get so much more excited because they're like, oh, all of these great villains from these different movies are coming
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Instead of like a bunch of people like mainstream watchers, they see Suicide Squad and they're like, who are all these people?
Right.
Yeah, they had to explain who all these people were, and I'm like, as a comic book reader and as a comic book fan, I know who Harley Quinn, Deadshot,
Yeah.
Captain Boomerang, all these people, Killer Croc are.
Yeah.
But it's like Killer Croc's another one, right? Where like put him in a Batman movie, he goes to Arkham, and Killer Croc's like in a cage. He's like, I'll eat you, Batman. Whatever he
yeah.
says.
That was something that the MCU did so well, is that they allowed mainstream watchers to be able to understand and be introduced to these characters.
Yeah.
Whereas basically the DCEU is like, we expect you to already know these people, and we're going to throw them together. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
and it was
It's
not.
gonna be great.
Yeah, it wasn't. That's why I still hope they do that with the Legion of Doom, where I'm like, okay, we've got our Black Manta set up, we've got our
I
Lex
love Black
Luthor set
Manta.
up. Like, I mean, they could put Deadshot in there if they wanted to, or Deathstroke,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
or both, you
Yeah.
know. And then like, dude, imagine the Flash movie. They get Reverse Flash in there.
Yes,
They put him in the
for
Legion
sure.
of Doom. Like, oh man, and then like that could just be so cool. And I want to see the Legion of Doom square. And like, even with what you were saying with the Suicide Squad thing, is like I could see that like the Justice League teaming up with the Suicide Squad to fight the Legion of Doom. Right? They're like, okay, well, we don't really like each other, but like, you know,
Common enemy.
the Suicide Squad, yeah, like we have a common enemy. We have these bad guys and good guys fighting
Yeah.
way worse bad
Yeah.
guys, you know, like, and that would have been really, really cool to see. Like, oh, Harley Quinn and Batman teaming up, like,
Yeah.
sure, go for it. Like, I'm down with it, but
It's
maybe one day,
If
maybe
they
one
earn it.
day, I don't know.
It's another thing. Like I'm spiraling off. Like the Batman v Superman, they tried to set up almost like that Injustice storyline with Superman going
Right.
bad. You know.
Oh man,
And imagine
yeah.
how cool
They
that would
did,
be
yeah.
if we got like 2 or 3 Man of Steel movies and a few Batman movies, and then suddenly Batman v Superman, we see this vision that Superman's going bad. That would be really
Yeah.
cool. Not
Well, the set.
not like Man of Steel, and then suddenly, oh, he's gonna go bad,
You're like, cool.
Yeah,
and Batman's like,
well, the
"Whoa."
whole.
Yeah.
The whole setup with that nightmare sequence, right, was that, you know, Doomsday was going to come and basically terraform Earth or turn it into basically one of his, like, dark side planets, like Apocalypse. That's where you see the giant Omega symbol in the ground in BVS,
Yeah.
right? And what was going to happen was, is that, like, basically, they were going to keep on going forward. And, like, in the first Justice League movie, like, I believe Lois Lane would have died. And like that's what sends Superman off off of, you know, down
Yeah.
the bad path basically. And that's when the Flash says Lois Lane is the key, you know.
Yeah.
And like even when Superman takes off Batman's mask and he's like, "You took my world," you know, and all of this stuff. And it would have been a really cool setup, like having kind of like this. I could see this in like the second or third Justice League movie, right? Having this like, oh my gosh, that's what that was. Very much like Age of Ultron in the MCU, where, you know, in Age of Ultron, Iron Man sees the vision of like all of these, you know, these Avengers falling on the ground, and you're like, oh, like this is what that was. And even like Tony mentions it in Endgame, where he's like I saw this vision of you guys, and he I think it was Endgame that he talks about that, and you're like, crap,
Yeah.
like that's what that
Yeah.
was. And like it would have been cool to see like Bruce Wayne being like I know what's
Yeah.
happening now. And the nightmare sequence is still one of my favorite sequences, and like even though it makes like no sense, because you're just
Right.
like, what is happening? And like it made sense to me after I was like, okay, I get this. Like I understand what Zack Snyder was trying to say, but obviously they cut even BVS up the crap out of that movie, and the ultimate cut was still better. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like all of that discussion is kind of pointless because it doesn't like really like get anywhere. But like it does. It's just
Listen, we just want people to relate.
We're just, like,
there's
DC
probably people out
fanboys.
there who can
We're
relate
just
to this.
passionate.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know people do, because people like nobody wants to see these
No.
movies fail. Like I don't, or at least I don't. Actually, I don't know if that's true. There's probably some people who definitely want to see DC fail. Like, but like, you know, why would you want to? Like, I just want to see DC like really have this cool universe, and I just like, and you know, I don't know how they're gonna fix it is the thing, but I think if they all coming back to the center point, if they get Henry Cavill back in a center point in the franchise, it could really be the step in the right direction.
Yeah.
And sure, they don't have Batman, and that's fine. But, you know, if they wanted to do, if they could, basically, here's what they need to do. If they can get Superman back, and obviously Gal Gadot is, you know, she's on board for Wonder Woman all the way.
Yeah.
So was Jason Momoa and Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg. They're all in. They don't have their Batman. That's fine. If they can get a way to get to Flashpoint to where Batman basically is changed, and they can get a new Batman,
Yeah.
I'd be down with that. Or
Robert
honestly, I
Pattinson,
remember there was
depending on his
rumors a while
success.
back. Yeah, it's like another alternative is just recast Batman as someone like I remember there was rumors a while back that they were going to get John Hamm to replace Ben Affleck's Batman, and I would have been so down with that.
Yeah.
Because
I'd be down.
he would have fit like the look and kind of the and I think John Hamm is an incredible actor. But if they wanted to do Flashpoint, and if I don't think Robert Pattinson would want to do a bunch of movies as Batman. To be honest, I think he just wants to do maybe one or maybe a trilogy and be done with it. Because he's already said I haven't been working out at all during quarantine, and I was like Robert Pattinson honestly kind of just. He's just kind of
F about nothing.
Doesn't care. He really doesn't. He's just man, I'm Batman, I guess.
I mean,
and he's a great actor, but
when the Twilight films came out, the bunch of interviews, they were like, "So, you like Twilight? What do you think of Twilight?" Robert Pattinson was just like, "No." I don't like it.
He definitely did those movies for the paycheck. He doesn't even like those movies. I don't think he liked them even when he was making them.
Yeah. My one piece of advice to WB is, you see the MCU just going along doing their thing, and they're doing it well, right? And it's a it's a jigsaw puzzle. Don't try to put a jigsaw puzzle together while you're going down the stairs, because you're just gonna trip, and those pieces are gonna go everywhere. And then suddenly you're trying to mash it all together.
And that's your daily advice from Cole Black, except it only fits for WB for the DCEU. But also use that advice in life.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably it for that stuff. But there is one last thing that I wanted to mention. So Keenan, you got HBO Max,
HBO Max,
right?
No, I just have HBO.
Wait, what form of HBO do you have?
Whatever comes with my cable.
Never mind, then. This episode is over.
Do you
was that your special surprise thing?
Yeah, I have HBO Max.
Okay, how much is it a month?
I split it with so I'm splitting it with a friend. We're sharing it. It's just me and him, and it's $12 a month, but I'm paying $6,
not bad at all.
and he's paying $6.
Okay, maybe I'll get it.
Not bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's $12 a month.
But I'll get it.
But I mean,
he's saying
okay,
12's not bad.
We're back on track, guys. All 8 Harry Potter movies are on HBO Max, Keenan. So, Cole, we got to team up on him. We have to get him to watch Harry Potter.
Hey, Keenan, there's this really cool thing. It's called a Harry Potter. I think you should check it out. It's
pretty cool.
It's great. I would suggest it.
You're listen, I was talking to Cole the other day, and I was playing the Lego Harry Potter games because the Lego games are great. And I was talking to him about how we all love Star Wars here, and Star Wars brings this really this sense of just happiness and wonder.
Yeah.
But Harry Potter also does that, but in a different way. And I'm I just was sitting there and I was like, God, I just got to get Keenan to watch these movies. I know you will like them. I know for a fact you will love them. And that's one of the few things that WB has maybe not with the Fantastic Beasts movies now, but we won't talk about that.
They're working on it, man. They're working on it.
They're trying to get it. I mean, they're doing a lot better than the DCEU.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
But dude, just please. Listen, if you can get to the if we can get to the point where Keenan watches and loves Harry Potter, then we'll be set. He loves Lord of the Rings. He likes Star Wars. He likes Marvel. He likes DC. The only thing we're missing is Harry Potter here
I have
on
nothing
Comic
against
Blast.
Harry Potter at all. I read the books when I was a kid. Well, I got up to the Goblet of Fire, and I've seen the first 4 movies. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I liked it when I was younger.
Go back and rewatch. Okay, you're gonna go back and rewatch it, and you're gonna get to Prisoner of Azkaban, and you're gonna be like, I love Harry Potter.
So
that's how it's gonna happen.
Basically, I'm not, Keenan. I'm not gonna impose this on you. You do what you want to do. But my question is, why not?
It's
to quote Adam Sandler from Uncut Gems. Give me another shot.
Here's the
great,
thing. Here's why not. I'm an evil person, and I just love how much it bothers Grayson that I make fun of Harry Potter.
So do it secretly, and you can
Okay.
tell me, and then it'll be fine. I
The
got
Chamber of
Grayson
Secrets.
to read all the books and like rewatch the movies and whatnot. So, because personally, wink wink nudge nudge, it could be really cool to talk about like Harry Potter on the podcast sometimes. Like it's another form of topic, you know. When
Yeah.
more Fantastic Beasts movies come out, you know.
So, guys, if you're listening, go on Twitter and completely bombard at Keenan Creates
Oh,
saying
man.
watch Harry
I
Potter.
will not be
because
affected one bit.
After we
and
said,
And also tweet at Comic Blast. I'll turn off my notifications. I'll make sure Keenan won't
Block.
because I'm going to hack his phone. And
I'm blocking everyone.
but that's all I wanted to say on that.
All right,
Watch
we'll
it.
see. We'll see.
Watch them.
I'll give it
Watch them now.
consideration.
Okay.
give me another shot.
But that's going to do it for this episode of the Comic Blast podcast. Thank you guys for listening. If you are listening, if you're not, then you're not. Can't beat that logic. You can follow us at Twitter and Instagram at comicblast_ once again. And you can find all our personal social medias in the description if you go to those, Twitter, Instagram, respectively. Like I said, patreon.com/comicblast. And I'm going to mention it again one more time. Please go follow Jess on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/female and fatal. Why do I say fatal? Why do I say that? I don't know why I say that.
We're stubborn.
What do you mean change
remember
it?
The first time we mentioned it, I was like, I'm pretty sure it's fatal. And you're like, no, I was thinking it was like fatal.
No,
no.
it's stuck in my head. It's female and fatal. It's like a play on words of femme fatale, I think, but it's like female and
Sure.
like, you know. Anyway, yes, female and fatal. Go follow her on Twitch. Give her a subscription if you have Twitch Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, you have Twitch Prime, and that way it can actually be going to someone who needs it rather than someone who doesn't, aka Amazon, because they're freaking rich.
Filthy.
And yeah, we probably will be back. I'd say we're not sure yet because our schedule is like all over the place right now. But probably I'm hoping the middle of the week next week, and hopefully we'll be back on track. And maybe we'll get a couple of guests here in the near future. But we're going to try to have more of a regular schedule. It's just kind of crazy with especially with work for Keenan and I, because. Send some love to Keenan again. I'm just gonna say that every week. I'm just gonna be like, just send love to Keenan. Send him some heart emojis. Send him some kissy face emojis. Yeah. You know, what's your? I don't know what Keenan's Venmo is. I'll tweet out his PayPal and you can send him money.
I'll take all the love.
He's like, oh wait, PayPal. But yeah, work has been like just kind of crazy. Especially for Keenan.
Dude, I
so,
let a drunk
thank
guy
you guys for
into
bearing
our
with
work
us.
the other day accidentally. I didn't tell you about that, did I?
No, you should end.
All right,
you should end the
fun
podcast.
Story. This
with
is
the
how
story.
my week went last week. So we have like a weird way of locking our doors at work. I'm a manager there, so I close every night. And there's like a little extra lock that you need to lock on this one particular door in the front. And if you don't lock it, all the other locks on the door are just useless. So I forgot to lock that. It just happens to be like the one night that I don't lock that some drunk guy literally just pulls the door open at 5 a.m. and just walks in there and sits down at the coffee bar. And the alarm goes off. Police come. It's like 5 a.m. I'm getting texts. Yeah.
What?
I'm just like, all right, this is a great week.
So you weren't at
It was
work.
in the middle of the night. He literally just opened the door
my
like it was
God.
like no problem. So
That's insane. And he just sat in there.
just
Did he
sat
do
there.
anything?
cops tackled him.
Honestly, that's a mood.
Yeah.
No, he's
just
like, I'm not
just
gonna
walking
steal
in-
anything.
I
I'm
think
just gonna
he
sit down.
apparently he thought he was at home. So like even when he entered the building, he
bless his
locked
heart.
the door behind him.
So obviously this time is very difficult for
Yes.
everybody. Drunk guy, if you're listening, I hope you find where your home is, because it's certainly not
No,
Keenan's
please don't
place.
come back.
he still has not gone home to this day. He's still out there.
He's become one
still
with the shop.
drunk.
Yeah, he's on the loose.
He's just sitting there menacingly. Hey, Cole, you want to give me that? You want to give me that outro?
Oh yeah, sure. Catch on the glip glops, my flip flops.